beyond the thunder and lightning, past the clouds, over the dark night. She reached up to the sky of stars and caught the red-hot light of the North Star. Opened the earth, walking with blood-soaked feet. She challenged the whip, the gun, the knife. She challenged the fire, pulled from the bodies of slaves, made into laws, prisons, and courts. Screaming white-hot flames and agony, she challenged millions of headhunters, dragging and ripping apart impossible tender moments of time, shipping vessels of history.
Greetings, welcome back, and thank you all so much for joining me today. I know that we had advertised that Laith Marouf was going to join us today. Two things have happened. One, he, in reporting on some stories in Gaza, has been delayed. And secondly, we now have a report that President Trump is going to announce a war with Venezuela tonight in his national address. So with that, and with this being live, we're trying to stay as nimble and as flexible as we possibly can. So we're going to discuss this reporting from Dave DeCamp in antiwar.com that the president is expected to announce plans to launch a war with Venezuela. With that, what's going on here? Let's connect some dots and find out.
Connecting the Dots with Dr. Wilmer Leon, where the analysis of politics, culture, and history converge.
To the Connecting the Dots podcast with Dr. Wilmer Leon, and I am Wilmer Leon. With each show, my guests and I provide insight and analysis into current events and the broader historical context in which most of these events take place. Let's quickly look at some of today's headlines. Moderate House Republicans joined Democrats to force a vote on the Affordable Care Act subsidies. The Senate has already rejected the plan, so the subsidies are still virtually certain to expire at the end of this year. A small group of moderate House Republicans are joining Democrats to force a vote on a proposal to extend pandemic-era enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year. Here, to me, is the important point on this entire debate. Democrats had the momentum on this issue with the government shutdown before Thanksgiving. They had the momentum from the off-year elections. The polling numbers showed a majority of Americans wanted the Democrats to hold the line. And that wasn't polling numbers from just Democrats. That was nationally. That was across the board. The people of the United States, an overwhelming majority of Americans polled, wanted the Democrats to do their job. They wanted the Democrats to represent their interests. Those furloughed and laid off government workers during this government shutdown, they were on the verge of missing a third complete paycheck right before Thanksgiving, and most important to the politics, Black Friday. With all of the, imagine, as Black Friday has been promoted over the years as the busiest day of buying in the country. This is the day that so many businesses make or break their year. And you were about to go into Black Friday with a number of people missing a third straight paycheck. So with all of this wind in their sails, those 7 Democrats in the Senate folded, as we knew they would. Now, I don't know if the Democrats would have prevailed, but they had the momentum and they decided to cave. And once they caved, that set the table for where we find ourselves now. Mike Johnson is about to send the House away with no vote, or if they have a vote, it's not going to be in a timely enough manner to make any real difference before the subsidies, the enhanced subsidies, are projected to expire. They folded again. Senate passes Pentagon bill pressing Hegseth to disclose boat strike evidence. The sprawling legislation includes a provision seeking video and other materials detailing the Trump administration's military activities in Latin America. Today, Congress passed the $900 billion defense policy bill, advancing a bipartisan effort to force the Pentagon to disclose footage of a controversial military strike on an alleged drug smuggling boat near Venezuela. Not only is this footage controversial, it will prove beyond a reasonable doubt, if the other video that we've seen hasn't already proven the case, that the administration has been involved in extrajudicial murder. The legislation advanced by a vote of 77-20. It cleared the House last week. Trump is expected to sign it into law. So we're going to have to see what Hegseth does, since the president has said he's leaving the decision to release or not to release the information, the video, up to Sneaky Pete. Another story: senators freeze Coast Guard admiral's promotion over swastika noose policy. Admiral Kevin Lundy had condemned both symbols and directed they be prohibited, but a new workplace harassment policy downgraded the swastika and noose policy to, quote, potentially divisive, end quote, and was allowed to take effect. How in the world can any American classify a swastika as being potentially divisive unless you're a Nazi? I mean, if you're a skinhead, you're probably comfortable. You might even have a swastika tattoo on your head. But short of being a Nazi, or to be more sensitive, one might say a Nazi sympathizer, which to me, if you're a Nazi sympathizer, you're a Nazi. Potentially divisive. A noose. You put a noose in the workplace. Why? What's your message? If you decide you're going to hang a noose in the workplace, at the Coast Guard, what message are you trying to send? Happy holidays? Hope you hang? Merry Christmas? We want to hang you? Happy Hanukkah? We want to hang you? How is this considered to be potentially divisive? So understanding that, one can only ask, Mr. President, what's the point? When would a swastika or the brandishing or the hanging of a noose in the workplace not be considered threatening? Not potentially divisive, but threatening. So, as a result of this, two U.S. senators have placed holds on the nomination of Admiral Lunde to serve as the Coast Guard's commandant after the service enacted a new workplace harassment policy, downgrading the definition of swastikas and nooses from hate symbols to potentially divisive. And I ask again, when is a swastika not a hate symbol? When is a noose not a hate symbol? It was Tammy Duckworth and Jackie Rosen, both Democrats, that are standing in the way of Lundy's promotion. Military.com reports Congress is trying to pull war powers back from the White House after Venezuela-linked boat strikes. Congress is preparing to use the war powers resolution's fast-track machinery to force a recorded vote on whether the president must end, quote, U.S. hostilities within or against Venezuela that Congress has not authorized. The current fight is procedural, getting a vote, compelling disclosures, and forcing the administration to defend its legal theory in public as much as classification permits. With all of that, because you understand, under Article 2, the president, Congress has the power to declare war. But under Article 2, the president can commit troops into harm's way. I think it's 60 days. And then he has to get approval from Congress to extend that time, if he has committed troops. So now he has the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier battle group off the coast of Venezuela. He has put an embargo around the country, not allowing any oil tankers to come into or to leave the territorial waters of Venezuela. So really, and that vote is supposed to take place today. So really what I think you have, to put this very simply, will Congress, what we will find out from this vote is whether or not Congress will allow the president to lie the country into war. Because remember, the War Powers Resolution was passed in response to Richard Nixon lying the country into the conflict in Vietnam. And it was a conflict because Congress did not declare war on Vietnam. So I believe the proper technical reference is the Vietnam conflict, because same thing with the Korean conflict, not the Korean War, because Congress did not declare war on Vietnam, nor did Congress declare war on South Korea, on Korea. So the question is, in my mind, will Congress allow the president to lie the country into war? Contrary to the statements made by the administration, no evidence has been presented to support the drug cartel rationale that the administration has been using as justification for its extrajudicial murder. We're somewhere, I think now, around 95 people have been murdered. In fact, reports by the United States' own DEA, the reports by the United States' own Drug Enforcement Agency, has told us that the alleged drugs in question are not coming into the United States from Venezuela. So you have American law enforcement agencies that are documenting, using data to demonstrate that the president's narrative is a lie. This has nothing to do about drug intervention. This has nothing to do with Nicolas Maduro being a drug kingpin. This, very plainly and very simply, is about stealing Venezuela's oil. And we talked on this show earlier that as countries have been moving towards valuing oil off of the dollar and valuing oil on other currencies, that the United States now feels compelled to steal the oil in the largest oil reserve known in the world, and that's Venezuela. They are reported to have more oil and natural gas off the coast of Venezuela than they have in Saudi Arabia. That's a hell of a lot of oil. And imagine the economic impact that it would have on the United States economy if oil were no longer valued based upon the dollar. And as I've said to you before, and others such as Amiri Baraka and others have agreed with me on the point that one of the main reasons that the United States went into Iraq to overthrow Saddam Hussein was because Saddam Hussein at that time was trying to convince OPEC to move their valuation of oil off of the dollar. So this is not the first time that this issue has presented itself. This has been an ongoing fear. And so it appears as though they're trying to do this again. Now, earlier this morning, I got some calls from some folks telling me that the United States was very close to pulling the trigger, literally, and invading Venezuela. Oh, you know what? There was one more point. Shoot. Now it just escaped me. I was talking about Venezuelan oil, talking about okay, well, anyway, it'll come back to me. And so I made some calls trying to run this story to ground. And it seemed as though some pieces were falling into place. You've got Congress voting today on the war powers issue. You have the president tonight at 9 p.m. coming on national television to talk to the country. They're advertising this as he's trying to sell his agenda. And so it appeared as the and you had Donald Trump announcing the blockade in the Caribbean Sea. So if you were starting to connect the dots, as we do on this show, it appeared as though one could expect that during his presentation this evening, that the president was going to announce that he was invading, that he was either that the invasion had started of Venezuela or that it would start in very short order. So now you have Dave DeCamp from antiwar.com. Trump to announce war with Venezuela tonight. President Trump is expected to announce plans to launch a war with Venezuela this evening when he addresses the nation at 9 p.m., according to one of Dave DeCamp's high-placed sources on the Hill. Also, earlier in the day, Tucker Carlson told Judge Andrew Napolitano that he has heard from a member of Congress that Trump is planning war. Quote, members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight, Carlson said on the Judging Freedom podcast. Last night, Trump announced, quote, a total and complete, end quote, blockade on, quote, sanctioned tankers, end quote, going into and out of Venezuela, which came after U.S. forces boarded and seized a tanker carrying Venezuelan oil. The Trump administration has made clear that its goal is to oust Venezuelan President Maduro. It's unclear what kind of military action the president is preparing to take, but according to earlier media reports, this is according to Dave DeCamp, he has been briefed on several options, including strikes on government targets, sending in a special operations force to kill or capture Maduro, or deploying a larger force to capture air bases and oil fields. What is the basis for killing or capturing the democratically elected president of Venezuela? What is this based on? And so this takes me back to the point that I just made about the pending vote on the War Powers Act. Will Congress allow the president to lie the country into war? No evidence has been presented to support this whole drug cartel rationale. That is without question a lie. Donald Trump is lying to you. Hegseth is lying to you. J.D. Vance is lying to you. But I believe they feel they've got to make this move while they still have some semblance of support in Congress and before people start focusing on the midterm elections. Their window on making this move and avoiding, at least for now, any type of charges or accountability for this illegal endeavor, the window for them on this is closing. And they've got to make their move now. So here are some questions that I think you have to ask yourself. As going back to Dave DeCamp's reporting, they're going to oust Maduro. If they are successful in doing so, then how do they plan to govern Venezuela? Ask yourself that question. How do they plan to govern Venezuela? One of my sources from Venezuela in the Maduro government said to me that Americans need to understand. I think this is a very, very interesting point. Venezuela is not Syria. So don't get it confused. Venezuela is not Syria. If they are able to put Marina Corina Machado in the palace, what are they going to do with the 21 governors and the over 300 mayors across the country of Venezuela? How is she going to govern? Venezuela has a constitution. So this is not, even though the administration wants to minimize all of this and personalize this in the context of Maduro, this is not Syria. This is not al-Assad. Venezuela has a functioning government, a functioning constitution. And some people may want to take issue with my saying functioning, but understand that people may say, oh, Wilmer, what about the economy? Wilmer, what about? Well, in spite of American intervention, in spite of American sanctions trying to cripple the government, Venezuela has a functioning government, functioning constitution. They are able to peacefully hold elections that our own Jimmy Carter told us were the safest and securest elections he had ever monitored. So, as one of my sources said, they can dissolve all the powers, but they cannot call for elections, because they will lose above all after the invasion. Think about that. How are they going to govern the country? If the United States is successful in capturing or murdering President Maduro, the democratically elected president of Venezuela, and they install Marina Corina Machado, which is what they've been trying to do, or Juan Guaido, which is what they've been trying to do for years. How does she govern? What do they do with the Venezuelan constitution? Because from what my sources are telling me, nobody's going to support her. So what they're going to have to do, how do they square this circle? So what they're going to have to do, contrary to how they played it in Ukraine, connecting the dots here, they've labeled Maduro a dictator, right? That's part of the rationale. He's a strong man. He's an authoritarian. He's a dictator. He lost the election, but because he's a dictator, he played with the votes and all of that. So he has no, according to the American narrative, there is no basis upon which for him to govern, even though he is governing. So they're going to have to replace the alleged dictatorship and dictator with a real one, Marina Corina Machado. That's what they're going to have to try to do. Is they're going to have to try to replace the fictitious dictator with a real one. One of the and because look at this also, you've got a lot of opposition to her in Venezuela. That's why she hasn't been successful in winning the election. So are they going to disappear? Are they going to murder the forces of opposition to her? Are they going to murder the forces of opposition to Juan Guaido? Because remember, he lost as well. And this gets to what I see as one of the fundamental failures with American regime change logic. The United States is infamous for removing leaders of countries, creating a power vacuum, and then not being able to control the mayhem that the power vacuum creates. We saw this in Libya with President Gaddafi. Under Obama, you murder Gaddafi, which from what the reports I've read, Obama didn't really want to do, but Hillary Clinton and Samantha Power, I think, convinced him that that was the play. And you see how wrong that was. Look at what we've done in Haiti. You removed the democratically elected president of Haiti, Father Jean-Bertrand Aristide, twice. You removed him twice. And look at what we've got going on in Haiti. You removed, I think it's Lukashenko. In Ukraine, I get my former Ukrainian presidents confused. So if I'm wrong on Lukashenko, if it was Yanukovych, I can't remember which one it was. So please forgive me. How many times do we have to see the movie? The ending doesn't change. I'll say this again, as you all have heard me say many times and are probably tired of hearing me say it. Every time I watch The Godfather and the phone rings in the kitchen and Sonny answers the phone, I say, Sonny, don't go to the causeway, homie. It ain't gonna work for you. But every time, and I've seen The Godfather so many times, I know the script by heart. Every time Sonny Corleone goes to the causeway, he doesn't make it home. Help me out. Folks, where's the outrage? Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage? Where's Congress? Where is Congress? Where we have checks and balances for a reason. It was Yanukovych in Ukraine in 2014 that fell victim to the Maidan coup. It was Yanukovych. And here's something else. And I was shocked when one of my sources told me this. This is a call I got from Venezuela, from someone in the Maduro government. They said, we're ready. Wait a minute. I'm getting what? Hang on a second, folks. We're dealing with very oh, really? Why not? Say, when I'm supposed to save it for what? Oh. Huh. Okay. Okay. I'll just say the folks that I've talked to are very clear. They're not afraid. Do they want the conflict? No, they don't. Have they done everything in their power trying to avoid the conflict? Yes, they have. And they are continuing trying to do so. But they're not afraid. And so you have to ask yourself this question. If the United States sends missiles into Venezuela, if the United States, well, let's just deal with the missiles first. What will Russia do? What will Iran do? What will China do? Because we know for a very long time, one of the reasons why the Venezuelan economy has been able to survive, if not slowly grow, is because Iran has supported it. You've got Iranian grocery stores in Venezuela. Russia has supported Venezuela, and China as well. China has invested heavily into, I know the point I was going to make. China has invested heavily into projects in Venezuela. Are they going to sit idly by and allow their investments to be stolen from them by the United States? AB Lance 2708, thank you for that $100 super sticker. Thank you very, very much for that incredibly generous super sticker. And understand that different countries will respond different ways. So China does not have to respond militarily. And we've talked about this earlier in the program, weeks and months before. When you look at the amount of American debt that China holds, China doesn't have to respond militarily. China can respond economically. They can very, very quietly let Donald Trump know, you know what? The soybeans that we told you we were going to buy, we ain't going to buy as many. We'll buy 3 beans. No, not 3 tons. 3 beans. We'll buy 3 soybeans from you. And then Donald Trump will complain, and then they'll say, okay, Donnie, we'll buy 5 beans. So they don't have to respond militarily. They can respond economically. Different countries can respond different ways. I'll just leave it there. I've been advised by some watching to not to divulge all the detail that I have. Moving on to the issue of personnel. So the United States, I think Trinidad and Tobago are allowing the United States to use its bases as part of the launching point for an invasion in Venezuela. So if you look at the ethnic makeup of the American forces that they're going to send in, one has to ask, are we as the United States, are we going to send African Americans and other people of color to attack African Venezuelans? Think about that. Is the United States going to send African Americans to attack African Venezuelans? Because if you set foot on Venezuelan soil, at least if you approach from the ocean and attack the beaches, it's to a great degree, which one, Nick? Which one? So sorry. If you Well, here's the thing, Nick. Let me see. I don't mind, and you know what? I'm going to let my producer be the arbiter and the monitor of this. And just let me say to you, Nick, I don't mind trolls so long as they're not disrespectful with their language and not vulgar with their language. That's why we had to get rid of that other clown, Zayun, because he was attacking personally people and me, but I can handle that. But I consider you all on this thread to be guests, as though you were at my home. And so if this were a dinner party, or if we were having a cookout, or we were just sitting out in the backyard drinking brew, and one of y'all started attacking another guest, you would be removed from the premises. But so, if you're just being an idiot, well, I'll let you be an idiot. So, so Nick, you're talking about, so I finally got rid of Zayun. Yeah, I did. Because he was becoming, if it was in fact a he was becoming just disrespectful to the conversation. So I'll let my brilliant producer be the arbiter of that point. Anyway, let me see here. Let me see if this is fan mail from okay, gotcha. I'm headed back there. Okay, so if you bring ground forces in, they're armed. Venezuelans are armed. They have an established militia, and they will be called into service to do what the militia has been trained to do. So, and this is the type of fighting that the United States has never, ever been good at. Look at Afghanistan. Wait a minute. Let me get my countries right. Vivicara. Thank you very much for that $50 super sticker. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Vivicara. I appreciate that. What was that? Oh, yeah. So if you look at the type of fighting that the United States is going to have to do, the United States does not bode well, does not do well, does not perform well in, as Kurt Boss says, no wars won, land invasion, extremely stupid at this point. That's my point. Yes, Mike Hawk, it will be like Vietnam 2.0. We're going to their backyard. We're going to try to fight them in their backyard. They know where the landmines are, literally and figuratively. They know where the booby traps are, literally. In house-to-house combat, urban warfare is not something that our army does well at all. Look at Iran. Look at Iraq. I always get those two confused. Look at Iraq. As Minister Farrakhan said, you can't win this with your technology. Eventually, you're going to have to bring, he said, for the first 2 weeks, you got this. But you can't win this with missiles. Eventually, you're going to have to bring your soldiers in here. And when you do, they got something for you. Dr. Nick, great question. What do you make of the language that Trump used saying Venezuela has our oil? Well, that's just racist, imperialist, antiquated Monroe Doctrine mentality. That great question, Dr. Nick. Go back to the Monroe Doctrine, or the Monroe Doctrine, or the Monroe Doctrine. My people are from Louisiana, so we would tend to say Monroe. Where it was the mindset of the United States that the Americas belong to the United States. Central America, South America belong to the are within the purview of the United States. And he's wrong. And remember, part of the deal of the Monroe Doctrine, or the Monroe Doctrine, was it was an agreement between the United States and Europe. Europe would stay out of the Americas, and the United States would stay out of Europe. Chris Fong, you're wrong as the day is long. Boy, you're wrong. It's not the mindset that Putin has with Ukraine or Xi has with Taiwan. Wrong. But I'm not going to get taken off on that tangent. Those of y'all that listen to the show, y'all know, no, my Chris Fong, that ain't right. Oh, shoot. Oh, let me make this point because I keep remembering it. Here's a point that is very important to remember about this oil conversation. Because not only is it a matter of oil, it's a matter of the type of oil. And Venezuelan oil is the heavy sulfur content type of oil that not all refineries are able to refine. Who has the refineries other than Venezuela and Citgo, who has the refineries designed to refine that heavy sulfur-based oil? The Koch brothers. So once the United States if the United States were to take control of Venezuelan oil, how does that oil get refined? The Koch brothers. I think one of whom is dead now, but still we refer to them as the Koch brothers. Who have the Koch brothers backed heavily financially in this whole process? Donald Trump. So remember, follow the money, follow the oil, follow the type of oil, and where does that oil, who would be responsible, who would profit from processing that heavy crude, heavy sulfur laden Venezuelan oil, the Koch brothers / Donald Trump. So, folks, it's not a good time. If Donald Trump makes the statements that Dave DeCamp reported on and that I saw on the horizon this morning, bad day in Mudville. That's a good idea. The Kashiba, boycott all Koch brothers products, and they are into a lot of products. Absolutely right, folks. But again, now to me, the question is not Donald Trump. For me, now the question is Congress. And if Dave DeCamp is correct in his reporting, and I have no reason to doubt him because he's right more times than he's not, where's Congress? Those members of Congress that were briefed last night on the United States, on Donald Trump going to announce tonight that the United States is going into Venezuela, where were they? Where are they? They should be quoting that brilliant African-American philosopher, Whitney Houston, saying, hell to the no, Bobby, hell to the no. Because that's not in the best interest of the United States. That's not in the best interest of the American people. There's a reason we have checks and balances. There's a reason that when you look at the way that the Constitution is structured, Article 1, the first article in the Constitution, Article 1, lists Congress. Article 2, the second article, after they lay out how Congress will be structured and organized, then you get to the president. Then you get to the president. Now, I understand it's 3 co-equal branches of government. I understand they're co-equal. But Congress is listed first. Why? Well, the same thing I say about folks want to ask which is the real HU, Howard University or Hampton. And I say, well, Howard, of course, was the first HU, but Hampton is the one that really matters. They are 3 co-equal branches of government. But Congress was listed first for a reason. And they have abdicated their responsibility. They have abdicated their responsibility. And this is where, as Americans, we are abdicating our responsibility. We are abdicating our responsibility as citizens because too many of us are not holding our elected officials accountable. And what we are finding is Congress is being held in the balance and found wanting. They're not doing their job. I understand, top secret, hush, hush, blah, blah, got that. But there are some circumstances and situations that require greater action by those in positions of responsibility. And if Donald Trump insanely believes that A, this is a constitutional move, and B, that this is a smart move, he's out of his mind. And this is where, as citizens, we have to regain control. That's why the document opens with 3 very important words: we the people. We the people. So, as much as I hate to say it, tune in tonight, because Donnie Dum Dum is about to tell y'all something that's really dumb and dangerous. So, again, let me say to A.B. Lance, thank you for that contribution. Those of you that contributed today, the Kashiba, thank you for your contribution. Do I think Nigeria will attack Burkina Faso? No. Not individually and nakedly as France. I don't think so. Because again, if France / the United States goes in and attacks Burkina Faso, they're attacking Burkina Faso / Russia. And I don't think they want that smoke. And Vivicara, thank you for your super sticker. I got all 3, I think, folks. We really appreciate it. We really need it because, again, we're reaching the end of this process when it may very well be this is when I am the most needed. But the ledger is what the ledger is, and when it ties and foots and it's coming up on the negative side, the U.S. being bogged down in Venezuela means less attention on the Zionist colony in Palestine. Possibly. Tomorrow, I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, staying with me today, indulging me today. You're right. Unfortunately, 2026 creative experiment 2026 will make us wish for the good old days of 2025. Who would have thought that Donald Trump would have us waxing nostalgic and reminiscing and longing for the good old days of George W. Bush? Who would have thought that? Think about that one for a minute. With that being said, Thank you all so much for joining me today. Those of you that contributed, thank you all greatly, because we are in desperate need of that support. Please follow, subscribe, leave a review, share the show. It ain't over yet. We're getting down to the wire, but it ain't over yet. Y'all can still save this thing, this show and the country. Ricardo Vaz is going to join us from Venezuela, is going to join us tomorrow. And we might have some other special guests as well. So, again, I want to thank you all again today. And remember that this is where the analysis of politics, culture, and history converge. Talk without analysis is just chatter. And we don't chatter here on Connecting the Dots. Hey, here's one of the things I'm wondering, because I haven't had it, right now it is 4:06 p.m. Eastern. The Kashiba, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you. Bobby Jones. Thank you for that super sticker. The Kashiba, you're well, we don't know everyone. I understand your sentiment and I greatly appreciate it. We don't know everyone's circumstance, but I'll say this: $2 a month. We've got 10,000 subscribers. If those 10,000 subscribers gave $1, I think my math tells me, wait a minute, that'll be divided by the square root of pi times the speed of light divided by the rotation of the earth. I think that would be $10,000 a month. I think that's what my math tells me. My good Catholic school math tells me that. And we could roll with that. Boy, could we roll with that. But freedom ain't free. So we're going to see y'all tomorrow. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I am Dr. Wilmer Leon. Oh, I interrupted myself. The point I was going to make as I'm getting out here, was I haven't had a chance to look at any of the major news networks, but I don't think any of them are talking about Donald Trump tonight saying he's going to invade Venezuela. And he may not. But Dave DeCamp, oh my goodness. I see Wicks, $100. Oh, Hicks, glasses. My brother, thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you. That means a lot. The show is too valid to lose. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. With that, it's a good man right there. Tell me the water is contaminated, then drinks a glass for themselves. I don't know what that reference is. But okay. I don't know if Zal snuck back in. He may have under an alias, but if you got to use aliases, you're a fraud. Stand up, man up. You're a fraud, which is why that's why you got banned in the first place. Because you're a fraud. Think hard, it'll make sense later. Well, I'll try, but maybe I'm not that smart. So with that, again, was there something else I was going to say? Oh, Richard Wolf and Michael Hudson on together. Well, let me see if I can do that. Cherie, thank you. Let me see if I can do that. There was something else I was going to say, and now I forget. Brother Hicks, thank you, man. Anyway, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So this is the time of day I got to say I'm out. Peace. I'm out.
Connecting the Dots with Dr. Wilmer Leon, where the analysis of politics, culture, and history converge.